All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to call to order a special call meeting today. Commission meeting is July the 10th, 3 p.m., so past 3 p.m. I want to roll call Ms. Cobb.
Here.
Mr. Owens. Here. Mr. Hendricks. Here. Mr. Hill. Here. And the one thing that only matters to be addressed is the city-county contracts. And that's the only thing that we will be voting on. And usually, in falling in with our normal, we will allow, since y'all are involved, if you want to say anything before, you on the sheriff?
I don't really have anything. John he's 100% ran through this. I think talked to everybody. So if I can answer any questions, I will. But this is completely on him.
All right. There is, and when we say city county contracts, we're looking at, is there more than one contract? Are we just looking at the jail situation, or are we looking at,
Yeah.
not the 911?
No, that's not us till next month,
Okay, gotcha.
or September.
Yes, it rolls just about right.
Okay. So there is a motion that has been written, and I'll read it out, and I'll entertain a motion after that. Whereas Cleburne County Commission provides inmate housing for municipal inmates, whereas the agreement for the amount that is charged for municipal inmates expires on July 12th, 2023, whereas the Cleburne County Commission wishes to maintain the same agreement with a rate of $32 a day until the end of the fiscal year 2023. That would be basically October or the end of September.
But back up there, did you say extend? We can't extend.
It's a new agreement that starts
Okay.
the day after.
Yeah, this one's gonna have to lapse, then 1 minute after midnight, we're gonna have to have another contract.
I think it read wishes to maintain, so I may have said extend.
We actually want a new contract.
A new contract,
Yeah.
but it would.
So
So
we got, see, the
All
contract.
terms are identical with the exception of the term of the contract.
Yeah,
This
the link.
link.
So on this motion here, what?
See, the old contract had a 90-day clause in it, where you have to negotiate within 90 days, so that's not passed, so we can't be extending that.
And it's on the 13th. That's right, Lisa. It says, whereas the Cleburne County Commission provides inmate housing for municipal inmates, whereas the agreement for the amount that's charged for the municipal inmates expires on July 12, 2023, whereas the Cleburne County Commission wishes to execute the same agreement with a rate of $32 per day beginning July 13, 2023 until the end of fiscal year 2023. Therefore, the Cleburne County Commission agrees to have Chairman Ryan Robertson sign the agreement with each municipality.
So do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
That's fair.
Ms. Cobb makes a motion, the second by Commissioner Owens. Discussion?
Yes, I did have a discussion. On the paper that we were sent, Lisa sent out to us and all, and maybe Jason can explain it a little bit more. It doesn't matter what they pay us, there's still going to be a limit to that amount that can be spent.
And that's part of why we're just extending this time to continue to allow the sheriff to talk with the chiefs and get to the bottom of exactly how all that's going to be handled before a new number is determined.
Okay, because I know there's no point in us putting money there if it can't be used. So that's why I want to be clear on that. So the $32 is only going to be for,
This only goes through the end of September.
okay, just want to make sure.
And it aligns it with the fiscal year, which is pretty much what all your other contracts do. And helps us not have one that comes up for renewal at an off period and catch anybody off guard.
Okay, I just wanted to clear that, because I know from what I read here, it doesn't matter.
Mr. Henderson?
Can we get Patrick to come up here and explain, because I'm not a law enforcement person,
Okay.
explain what happens when I'm a Renfrew City Police and I arrest Ryan, and I bring him to the jail.
And if
Tell
I'm
me-
arrested too.
They get excited about that. They wants to.
There we go. Now we're talking.
Yes, there it is.
Sort of walk me through the procedure about, you get an inmate from a police.
And Ross and Glenn is here making.
But there's two separate situations too, because the municipality may arrest a person charged with a felony and bring him in, as opposed to a person with a municipal ordinance violation that falls under municipal.
And a felony, the city only pays 3 days and we pick it up from there. And if they're municipal, they have to keep paying.
Correct.
Okay, but I sort of want to hear, they take them out of the car and what happens.
The services that are provided, and granted, and I know there was a question on it, but say if Glenn or the city of Heflin arrest somebody, for municipal and for felony, of course, they bring them to the jail, they bring them inside the jail, and once they are brought inside the jail, they do their arrest report and then turn that said person over to the booking staff. Previously, under the old contract, and I know that's one thing that John had spoke with Ross and with Glenn about, would be, previously under the old contract, we didn't do the fingerprints. It would be up to the cities to do the fingerprints. But under the new contract that they're being discussed is to add fingerprints to that. Anyways, they would bring the person, the arrestee in, and at that time it's turned over to the jail booking staff. They do all the booking, they change them out, we house them at that point. They essentially are turned over to us. Just like the attorney mentioned, if it's a municipal code or a misdemeanor, however long they're in jail, the cities are being charged per day. However, if it's a felony, then after 72 hours, that turns into a county inmate, and then they are only charged up to that 72 hours.
Just one question. So say the city picks up somebody that the county's got to hold on, and they bring them to the county jail, does the city pay for that?
No. So and essentially now we may ask the city to transport somebody for us, like if say we got a warrant on somebody and they come across them and we don't have anybody to transport, that at that point is just simply them doing us a favor by bringing them to jail. So what Paula does and what the jail does is when somebody is brought in, so if the city of Heflin arrests you, then in our system, in our booking system, then it is coded City of Heflin. And then each day, Paula goes and matches those people to the charges to however it's coded in that system. So if it's a warrant for the county, then of course, or if it's a felony warrant that say the City of Heflin has already arrested somebody on, then that's still a county inmate. If it's like a FTA or something like that.
So if they get pulled over and they're on probation, and really, say if it was just speeding, you normally let them go, but then it escalates into something else because they're on probation and they've been drinking or whatever, they get put in jail, then if it's a probation violation, then it's still county.
Well, I mean, at that point you have two separate charges. So if they've got a warrant for probation and it's a felony warrant, and Paula would have to answer that question. I really don't know how.
Well, on probation, let's just say if it's me and I got a DUI, I could bond out and then, in that, a good, easy window, but if you're sitting there and you got a hold for a probation and you still got me tagged for DWI, then I might be there from now on. So at what point would it say?
Well, in reality, that's really up to probation to get that warrant in. And like I said, Paula would have to explain that on the fine details of it, because I don't know. That's simply the jail is Paul and John's monster. I don't really try to get involved in that. But essentially, you would get probation, and they would only have a certain amount of hours to get that warrant executed. And in there, again, it falls back to the 72 hours. After 72 hours, if it's felony charge, then that becomes our person.
Okay.
So
I'm just trying to figure, because there's a lot of avenues to keep somebody in jail, I can tell you.
well, and
Not as many as there used to be.
Paula does a really good job at keeping an eye on that. and she goes through that daily. That's one of the first things that she does. And what happens at midnight every night, our jailers, the jail supervisor will run a report at midnight every night. I mean, it is 24/7, every day there's gonna be a report. And then each day Paula comes in and she looks and compares, and then she'll look at the charges to ensure that, because we make mistakes, to make sure that they were billed correctly, you know, make sure it was a city of Heflin inmate or a Ramburn or if it's supposed to be ours. So Paula, it doesn't necessarily, you know, yeah, our corrections officers, you know, it's up to them to put it in the system correctly, but Paula, I'm telling you, Paula's super on ensuring that she goes through there. And I know she has called Glenn some and questioned, as well as Ross and you know, for different questions. But
That's what I was trying to figure out, how.
So say that again. So when they come to the jail, they bring the prisoner in, correct? And they don't just automatically hand them over to y'all. They have to do the report.
no, it's an arrest report. Anybody that comes in our jail has to have an arrest report. And that's just a record of what they're arrested for. That's what that agency placed them under arrest for, is what an arrest report is. And that's all they have to do. And it's just a single sheet of paper with their information, what the charges is, and a little narrative. If something happened, put their court date, their bond, whatever, that's handed to the booking officer, and then that's it.
So they never actually go out into our jail or
No.
they have to stay in a certain holding area with that prisoner.
Well, I mean, once everybody's brought in, if they're under any type of influence of anything, they're held up front. But if they're not under, say for example, if somebody's brought in for assault or something like that, that's not, they're not under the influence of drugs, then they would go back to population at that point. But essentially, everybody that's brought in those doors, whether it's city, county, or whatever, we hold them up front for monitoring and such as that.
That my question would be, like, we're not allowing like our city police officer or any of them past a certain point, because that puts us at liability.
Well, and it's more so, we call on the city now all the time to help us, like we have a major fight. A lot of times our city officers can get there a lot quicker than our county officers can, because if they're in Borden Springs and there's a fight breaking out in the city or in the jail, our city guys can get there a lot quicker. So, I mean, we've got a good relationship with our city folks. They help us out. But as in the whole booking process, as in, once that inmate's brought in those doors, essentially, unless we need them for, there's some times where we only have a female on the floor, so we may have to depend on a city officer, if it's their arrestee, to help that female dress that male out. But it's very seldom that we have to depend on them to do anything other than bring the person in the door and hand us an arrest report.
So your people fingerprint them, and I suppose you run those fingerprints to see if they got anything else against them?
Well, the fingerprints are basically just a document, on their criminal history. Fingerprint, and if they've got something hanging out somewhere else, then they'll send us a hit saying, so-and-so's got something, whatever. But fingerprints, and like I said, previously under the old contract, fingerprints was not included in the contract. So the city officers would have to do their own fingerprints. But essentially, fingerprints that's the only way the criminal charge can be that will list on your criminal history. So fingerprints has to be done for that said charges to be added to criminal histories, and so it's very critical, especially when you look at, and Mr. Odom can tell you this, when you're looking at pistol permits, buying weapons, and all that, fingerprints are very, very critical with ensuring that.
But what I'm trying to get at is that once you do the fingerprints, then you gotta run them through a system, right?
It automatically uploads everything.
Okay, but the county pays for that system, the city doesn't pay for the system.
Correct.
I mean,
Well, and that would be a line.
that's just part of their cost for the $32.
Well, I think now, when they do the fingerprint, it goes into a computer. It ain't like it used to be on a piece of paper where you gotta scan everything. When you fingerprint now, it's uploading when you're fingerprinting.
Well, we're fingerprinting, I mean, if they're in the county jail, we need a fingerprint period anyway, that needs to be.
And that's one thing that I think we've all sat down and agreed on, that's just one of the things that in the years past has never really been thought of. But I think in order for us to ensure fingerprints are being done, in order to ensure that they're being attached to these inmates' criminal histories, I feel like that we ought to do it. And that's one thing we've all agreed on and talked about, so.
But there is a cost to being allowed in that system.
And like I said, that's a question for Lane. I would assume that there is, because it's a nice computer system, but
We gotta pay fees for everything, so I'm sure.
yeah, I'm sure there is, but I couldn't answer that.
The fingerprinting is a system we had to have anyway.
Yeah, but if it's tied to an outside source, I guarantee you there's a fee no matter who it is. I mean, that's just what I'm trying to get at. I mean, the cities are getting more than just, here's a bologna sandwich. There's a lot more things involved in it.
Any more questions?
Y'all ready to vote? All in favor saying aye. We have a unanimous, motion carries. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll say,
Got a second? All in favor say aye.
I think when we get into the work session, do you think we need to have another work session with everybody on the contract that's gonna, one maybe the sheriff and Paula can be out? So
You do need to start working on the one that's gonna take effect October 1st. So whether it's today, or whether you do it next month when you have the sheriff and Paul available, that's something that needs to begin now between the sheriff, the commission, and the cities.
But what I'm getting at is if we come up another deal where it's 2 days before the thing runs out,
Yeah, no, this,
I'm not gonna be a happy camper.
it needs to start now so that we're ready on October 1st to have that new agreement.
And speaking from a budget standpoint, sooner the better, because I'm already in the process of working on budget, so.
So when we get to the work session, we need to set a date.
Yeah, you go ahead and set a date for it, because the contracts, we can go ahead and negotiate the contract and have them ready to sign for September 1, if everybody agrees to it. October 1.
Alright.
Yeah.
Alright, let's move to the work session then. Well, y'all are welcome to hang out in here the whole time. So it's just up to y'all. I didn't want you to know, it'd be okay if y'all want to leave. Is there anything y'all have? Do y'all want to ask a question or anything? I just want to be respectful of y'all.
But the cities may want to talk about the dates that they're
sheriff as well.
Yeah. Is there a date or something for you guys that you're all looking at?
A date, we're under budget too, so we'll be doing our budget through July and August to look at it, and then we'll adopt it probably early September. So it would be good if we could have a contract in hand by, say, the end of August. Would that be, is that sufficient?
Yeah. I'm just saying, before they
What?
leave, if y'all want to start talking about it.
This work session, you can talk.
Okay.
Just
Just so you understand, the city of Heflin is not trying to be an ass or trying to be outside that. Basically, what we're doing, we've asked for a public records request, and I think we have those in hand now. Those will go to the League of Municipalities, in which we pay 3 attorneys that sit on that League of Municipalities in Montgomery. All that we're asking is based on the resolution that was put in place in June of 2001. How does that take effect today over the years where we've been paying all along, when basically in that resolution, the city of Heflin give up a 1 cent sales tax for these items? And we have those. Yes, go ahead.
1 cent sales tax is not in any meetings or any records.
Oh yeah, it is in records. If you don't believe me, come down to my office, I'll show it to you today. When the newspaper sets in on your meeting, that is as good as minutes, okay?
No, it's not.
I know we, on the public records request.
Newspaper's not good.
So the best thing to do is let's don't argue, let's let the lawyers argue, if that's the way we're gonna go to. I'm not gonna sit here and argue with you. The newspaper took a record of those minutes. Now, what we didn't get in the public records request is the minutes from a special call meeting, which I noticed that you was taking minutes for this special call meeting a while ago. We did not get the minutes for the June 14th meeting that was held at the courthouse, in which Phil Webb was involved and several others that were involved. Those are the minutes that we're looking for right now, okay? When we get those June 14th meetings, and we get them over to our attorneys at the League of Municipalities, then we'll decide. We may be in the wrong, Terry. I'm not saying that we're in the right. But we need to know.
My understanding is, anytime there's been a contract or a resolution since that date, that one's no longer any good, the new one takes effect.
We asked that question. That is untrue. The one person that is still here is Ryan Robertson. You authorized him in 2001 to sign that resolution, to execute that contract. Any contract that was given to a city or municipality past that date was in false pretense. You knew that there was a contract in place, and the new administration was asked to sign a contract that they knew nothing about any older contracts. Then that's a whole different ballgame. We'll have to figure out, was the city issued a contract under a false pretense with commissioners knowing that there was already a deal on the table? Those are things that are above my pay grade. Not gonna try to be an ass about it, but we need to let people, this attorney right here is way smarter than I'll ever be, went to law school for it. He will advise you. Our lawyers will advise us. We don't wanna go that route. That's not our route, but this was handed to us, and we were voted, as councilman and as mayor of Heflin, we were voted by our constituents to represent our people.
I understand that.
And if you look, there is a history of that 1 cent sales tax, and it is in your newspaper. Go back to the June 21st article in the newspaper, and you can read those minutes of that meeting. But right now, we've got to ask for the June 14th, 2021 minutes to get clarification. And then the minutes that we received from the public records request, none of those are signed by any commissioner. So that's another thing. We got to come back and say, hey, where's the signed copies of all the minutes for 2001? So there's a lot of things in play here.
So, but basically that's the direction you're headed in, and I understand.
All we want is a formal opinion.
Gotcha.
That is it.
Yeah.
Right or wrong. City may be in the wrong. Charge us
Yeah.
what you want, and then we'll go from there.
All right. And in the meantime, so you don't want to make them, until you understand that, you don't want to go forward as far as making, trying to get together and work out a deal.
I am only one vote. The
Okay.
council that Tuesday night, which y'all are welcome to attend any of our council meetings, the council voted that we need to send it to the league for a formal opinion.
Okay.
Because we're sitting here trying to determine what the law
Right.
states, and we don't have a clue what the law states.
Yeah, and I think
All we
y'all voted to do that, and I think y'all should do that. And
That's
there's really, until y'all find it out, we don't need to, there's no need to discuss it.
There's no need in discussing it. That's
Okay.
exactly right.
Good, okay. I'm good with that. All right, let's move on to, we will try our best to wait on that. If you'll let us know as soon as y'all get an answer.
Well,
Then we'll try to start the negotiation.
Are you listening? Are we going to file another public records request to get the signed copies of the minutes? Because all the minutes you sent us are unsigned.
Right, those are the ones that we had electronically, that we had on file, that if we could scan.
I think we need the ones out of the red books, they're saying.
We'll do that,
Can we do that?
It's gonna take some time to copy out the red books.
I got you. What if I go through those minutes and just determine what dates that they need with them? Would that be easier for you? I want to make it easy on you. I don't want to
I
cause you
can
a lot of
see
trouble.
anything for June 14th, but I'll look.
That was a special call meeting that happened at the courthouse according to the newspaper. You don't think nobody kept minutes for that day? That was a very important meeting for the city of Eflin and for the county.
We'll look in the red books and see if we see that. We're going to
Yeah.
make copies of it for you.
And if we need to make that request, we can do it. I mean, it's no problem.
Well, I think it was covered in that first request, so that's no problem. I just didn't know you would have copies.
Thank you.
Copies of
I
everything.
appreciate it.
All right. All right, let's talk about what needs to be on the agenda coming up.
See you, bud.
Hey, Tim. You didn't bring the big trophy, set up there, so we get a picture of it?
And what I have on my list is, do we want to talk about, or we will talk about, the sheriff's request that we increase the feeding inmate rate. So that'll be something that I've been gathering information for you now, I've been sending you information about this. So that's something that needs to be addressed fairly soon because of budget.
Any questions?
Ain't nothing,
15, okay?
ain't nothing we can do until the city.
Okay.
Right.
I ask you
And
a legal
understand that.
question.
You just,
That's just it. Ain't no damn newspaper article in the world that's stand up for it.
Thank you. Bypass.
And also, if the June 14th meeting was between the county and city governments as an informal work session, or the commissioners meeting with other politicians to discuss an issue, that may not have fallen within the definition of meeting under the Open Meetings Act as it was at the time, because it was a different statute. And if it's not a meeting, then there's no requirement that minutes be kept.
Yeah.
What I did
If
see,
it's just a get together, hash it out, knock down, drag out.
There was no resolution made that night. I think there was some, you know, I don't know if there was an agreement, I think there were some things discussed.
If it didn't meet the definition of actual meeting, then there's no requirement for minutes to be kept.
I read through their minutes for, that whole year, and basically just kind of scrolled through until I found anything that had something to do with this inmate housing issue. And saw that, you know, where they what, or in this case, it was about the 1/6 sales tax, what that was about, the June 14th thing that he's talking about. And on June the 12th, they agreed that, probate judge can commit to the commissioners and the council would meet at the courthouse. And that's the meeting he's talking about, but I have not seen any minutes for that meeting. And who knows who was actually on
And I
there.
call it a get together, because it doesn't sound like it was technically a meeting. Sounds like a get together between two different governmental agencies.
And that's what I remember it was.
I may have misunderstood what Robbie said, but he said Phil Webb conducted a meeting, but Phil Webb didn't get the right to conduct a meeting.
It was just a group, and he was kind of like the moderator that night. He was moderating basically for the people who had businesses within the city limits.
So these people are one voice of concern.
Yeah, we all agreed.
And that's fine.
So,
But I don't see how we can vote on something like that until they decide what they're going to do.
And I understand it's just something that needs to be on the radar because it will have an effect on our budget. Whatever decisions made on that.
all right, we're gonna,
But on these, Jane, on what she has sent us, and maybe I'm misunderstanding it, but it doesn't matter how much goes in there, there's only gonna be a limit that can be spent. So it's like that money's just sitting there that cannot be used.
Well, it's an amount coming in that stays fixed. The cost of what you're going to use to spend it on changes, because different meals are going to cost different things. But I think probably a good starting point for you, even if it's not something that is on the formal agenda, would be to go ahead and set up a meeting between the commission and the sheriff to go over exactly what the sheriff is looking for, how he administers it, and get a better understanding among all parties. That way we have our ducks in a row between ourselves and the other constitutional officer in the room, and then we go to the cities.
Can I make a comment too on that? And I see a lot of this. I've been involved enough on the jail side and the sheriff's office, or as a deputy. What we're dealing with now is the grade of people that's coming in, and that's just honesty. And what the biggest problem is yes, food. And then you have all these different religions that come into the jail that you have to make certain meal plans for, that you have to, so the cost of just an old bologna sandwich that used to be the thing years ago, we're having to watch these different things. Ensure food don't have pork. Ensure, just different things that's driving our cost up. And Lane can better explain to you some of those situations. And also some of the things that we're dealing with is some of the inmates that are brought in from county, city, town, Brainerd, everybody, is it's causing us to have extra people there from time to time to babysit said inmates. So it's, the cost of everything is rising for us to house even our own inmates, much less anybody else's inmates. So.
Well, I don't know if you can answer this question, but so is it costing the county to have a municipal inmate?
I mean, essentially, if you look at everything, I think what needs to be focused on as a group for y'all is is what it's costing to feed based on what we're having to feed, by what the state regulation says that we have to feed these inmates. I know there was an issue, and Lane can better explain this. I know there was an issue where we was getting our food from the prison. They was billing it wrong for so many months. We went from like and this is just throwing numbers out there, we went from like $1,000 bill to a $4,000 bill. And Lisa and them probably seen some of the stuff on that, but that's what we're running into, is just the different, and Lane and them would, like I said, better explain that, but it's, the cost of it for sure, for us to house anybody is going up.
Your food that you're purchasing, the food that's being purchased to feed the prisoner, is that coming from the state only, or, because I know they got the same too?
Lane shops around, so like certain things like bread, we can't just go to the prison and buy bread, because essentially it'll be stale by the time we got it back. So like bread comes locally, and I think maybe from time to time eggs come locally. But for the most part, most everything comes from the prison, and then Lane uses food vendors, and he has shopped around and went for the cheapest to get some of the things that we just can't get from the prison. But like your generic stuff, most of it comes from the prison. We do a food run, and it's cheaper to get it from the prison than it is vendors.
Y'all have an average cost for an average inmate per day?
Lane could better explain that, but I know his statement last week was that we can't feed an inmate for $2.50 a day. That's just impossible.
How are y'all comparing to other places, other counties charging theirs?
Lane would have to explain that, and I know there was a comment that Calhoun County is lower, they charge their municipalities a lower rate. You can't compare Calhoun County to Cleburne County. You can't, because there's a lot more,
You also can't compare them because Jacksonville, Anniston, and Oxford have their own jails.
Exactly.
Whereas Anniston is currently sharing their jail with the county in exchange for letting the county put the female inmates in the Anniston jail. So the three largest municipalities either have their own jails or have an agreement with the county, whereas the smaller municipalities like Weaver and Piedmont, they're not generating that many inmates. So it's an apples to oranges comparison.
It's not a good comparison at all.
Does the state have anything for us, what they consider an average cost to house an inmate?
I'm not sure Lane can answer that, but the state uses a dietitian, I think. So they set their meal, and we try to mirror a lot. And Lane was talking last week, it would be nice if just the whole state, jails and everybody would be able to use the same dietitian, set a prefix meal, and that be it. Everything be cookie cutter, everything be done. But I think the state has their meal set, and we mirror a lot of that, but there's a lot of things that we can't do that the state does.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, and
Yes, sir.
it may be part of the objection that the cities have, is that this number is all lumped in, and they're saying, what's it covering? If the contract, if the agreement was parsed out in kind of an a la carte method, whereas to house a municipal inmate, it costs this much to feed them per day, this much to house and process them per day, that is sheets, clothing, etc., to house them, and here is the charge for booking, fingerprinting, etc. And if we had all of those things laid out separately, transparency, then they're not going to have as much heartburn saying, well, you're just getting all this extra money for food and not spending.
I think that would solve a lot of because I know that has been a concern that I've heard is what all is this cover? So, and like I said, John and I have talked, and I know John has spoke with both of the cities, and I it's just something that's been slipped through the cracks over the years, just something as simple as fingerprinting. That is very, very critical, especially when we're the organization that issues pistol permits. If I get arrested for a felony charge and I don't get fingerprinted, well, I can come in, after the case is said and done and get my pistol permit. It's just simple stuff like that that's real critical on the sheriff's office side of it. So yes, I agree, we need to be doing fingerprints, but that's going to also take an officer time. It takes about 30, 45 minutes to sit down and do somebody's fingerprints. and to do it correctly, because we're gonna have to code that fingerprint to the city of Heflin or the city of Ring or whatever, and it's just gonna take time and extra training, and sure our folks are, you know, up to par.
You not have just one person that does, that's employed there at the jail that does nothing but fingerprint.
No, ma'am,
We can't, they have to be there 24/7.
yeah, it would be wasteful to do that, because like I said,
But I mean, that you've got your jailers or what, you've got these people trained just to do
We've got-
that pulls from the jail in to do for the fingerprint.
let me just tell you what current Cleburne County Jail is going through. Is like right now, for example, I've got 2 inmates that's up front in the ISO and detox cell that don't do anything but beat, bang, scream, holler, yell, kick, tear stuff up, that is acting complete idiots. And then I've got about 15 more that's in the back that does it on a milder level. So we've got 3 to 4 employees on every shift that I've got a shift supervisor that has to sit there and answer the call, deal with booking stuff, deal with bonding people out. Then I've got 2 other people that is dealing with dressing people out, because of course a male can't dress out a female, and a female can't dress out a male. So, and then, they're having to do the dressing out, the fingerprint, and then I've got one that is whatever is going on, whether it be trays, whether it be dealing with an issue in the back, and then I've got one in the tower. So there's a lot that's going on to just running that jail that used to, it wasn't like years ago where they would just run themselves. You had the good old boys that was arrested that wouldn't act up. They knew they did something wrong, and you'd stick them back there and they'd be happy until they got released. We got everybody, 85% of our population, that acts a fool 24/7, that's focusing on our employees doing stuff. Just like this morning, 6:19 this morning, I had a corrections officer open the door and he get punched right straight in the face. That's what we're dealing with. Broke his glasses, and so of course there it is now. I have to tie a deputy up to go back there, charge the guy with assault second, and do all that. It's just the people that we're dealing with these days.
Go back to the food thing. Now, as far as the state food, everybody's charged the same on the state food.
If they get food from the prison, I think it's all charged the same.
Why does the state not look into something, these free meals? Why do they never, somebody's not, so, and those meals are shipped out? I mean, it seems like that would save everyone money. And it's it's healthier.
Sounds like Ms. Collins has her first legislative priority.
I mean, really.
She can be on the legislative committee.
There you go.
Really,
A statewide dietitian would be the
Well, that's
first
what I'm
thing,
saying.
that everything would follow by a
you
statewide
already said
dietitian.
you had the dietitian, why are their meals not 45 semi?
It's just something over the years and the way the cost of everything's went up, it's just now
But that
coming
would be
ahead.
cheaper.
Mhm.
Makes too much sense.
Yeah.
Makes too much sense.
It's okay.
All right.
I would need to approach somebody.
I'm good with it. If they get the Sheriff's Association to get on board, I'll go down there to the ACC.
We need to go big.
Let John get in for being a town department.
All right, moving on to number 2, what's our next?
I have received a letter from the Alabama Retired State Employees Association. I know you've seen this before and opted not to do anything about it last time. There's another option out here for it again. They have sent us and said that if we have not acted on this before, that we have an opportunity to do that, we need to. I'm just informing you this cost the county $14,094.
14,000 what?
You got
And
a letter.
$94.
You got a letter. It's in our commissioner letter.
Okay, I didn't know if everyone.
Do y'all want that on the agenda? Does anybody want that on the agenda? You want it on the agenda?
No.
Oh, you were shaking your head, yes.
I need to, let me think about this, 14,000.
If you,
But it's 14,000 every year going forward.
Mhm.
Okay.
nobody wants it on the agenda? Okay, all right.
Another thing that I wanted to bring up is the Industrial Development Board MOU. I've spoken to you about it before. It ends at the end of this year. So I don't know if it's something you want to look into, renewing or not renewing. It does end at the end of September. The MOU, or a memorandum of agreement is what it is. was 25,000 for fiscal year 21 and 50,000 for fiscal year 22 and 23. And I can look back and see that we've been signing these pretty much every 3 years, going back quite some time, and I didn't know if that was something that
You want it on the agenda?
I do.
New business?
New business.
Yeah, you gotta come up with figures, so it has to be new business.
Yeah.
All right, and I know there's a couple of things with some of the road and bridge projects that we've got going on. I know that you wanted to move your $452,000 that was allocated to you out of the ARPA funds over to Ms. Cobb's district.
I don't want to move it to anybody's district, I'm just moving it to, wherever it goes to. He's reading, but all I'm doing is moving it into, changing mine out to state money. But if it goes into Ms. Cobb's district, that's fine.
I'm sorry?
It's just gonna go to a project. Which is,
Yeah.
See,
It's
all of
ARPA
us,
funds, so it has to be allocated.
yeah, that's what, so for us to use it, so that money will come back.
so it's
in.
gonna go to a project to resurface County Road 57.
Okay.
Does that have to be?
And yes, it'll have to be an ARPA resolution.
I just know there was a resolution before that divided that amount of money between these four commissioners. And that's why I thought that maybe we had to do something to
Yeah, we need to do that.
swap that back around.
So that need to go in new business, right?
All you need to do is just get the ACCA to write that resolution for her road, and then when it gets ready to spend the money's there. I don't think we have to do a resolution for that part of it, do we?
I think they do that now, don't they?
No, once she gets that done to do that, down there, they don't know you got money, they don't know I got money, they just know Cleburne County's got money.
Yeah, I see
So
what
you
you're
only
saying.
need one resolution.
Right.
That's the ARPA resolution.
But yeah, but we
I
need to start,
doesn't care, but I'm saying for our purposes, it's been divided
Yeah.
between four of you.
And what she's saying is to free up 400-something thousand, she's gotta do that resolution you're talking about, not one time.
So,
but it's gotta be specific to
Right,
what's needed, right?
is that good?
Yeah, but in new business and you'll work on that?
Just one resolution for the IAC, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's where I'm signing to,
Okay,
that's what they're saying.
all right.
You
That's fine.
uncomfortable? You,
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I just want to make sure I've got it covered.
alright,
Yeah,
new business. New business. And y'all get together and know what it's for.
And I think that's all I have.
Alright, Lee. We're moving at a good pace now.
But before we go, let's stay with it. On the vehicles, like this truck that the sheriff's got, that we got to replace, I don't know exactly what's going on with the motor. We need to come up with something. Have we looked at the contract? Did you get a copy of that so we can find out? Because, we have a contract for so much per hour, and then we're paying $30-something hundred to put a water pump and a time chain on front of the motor. Does that seem right there?
I think it's high, I think we should get a second opinion.
Well, we've already,
Which truck is it?
it's one Terry Benfield Road.
It's
It's
miles ago.
gonna be a little over 100,000, don't hold me to that, but I think
It's a new truck.
It's a 2016.
it's a 2016, and that's one thing that, and Terry could look at this a lot better than I can. But I mean, it's a timing chain, engine shampoo, that of course a change of oil. It's got 4 or 5 gaskets, more than that actually listed on it.
What is he driving now?
Nothing.
What is the truck that Dennis had?
We use it to pull the side-by-side for search and rescue, and use it within house, like for hauling evidence and everything. And it's cloth seats, and I'm telling you, once you get the inmates in it, a truck will be ruined once you get some sweaty inmates.
So it's just being used for
We
odd
use it,
jobs. It's not
Correct.
being used as really
Like a work truck.
yeah, we're using it because we don't have, that's the only other truck that we have to pull the side-by-side and go and like haul evidence.
What's
Well, let me
your
ask you this,
model?
let me ask you this, because what the sheriff was wanting was he work on a patrol vehicle, needs to be a certified mechanic. what about that truck? I mean, there's, like, what about that truck? Why couldn't, could y'all do that, or would y'all not include something like that, where you gotta pull the water pump on?
I think it's awesome.
A lot of times now, when you get somebody like a dealership looking at a truck, and they see 100,000 miles, they say, oh, it's time change. They don't even open the hood. I got one that's got 200,000 on it, and believe me, the time change, everything's perfect. I mean, it's a lot to do with who's making the diagnosis too.
Well, and this, I've got a picture of the invoice here, that is.
Can you forward that to, will you see printed out?
Yeah.
And like I said, you know, what's what I was gonna mention, parts was $2,776, which, you know, for the work that's been done, that seems reasonable. But the labor was what was highest, $3,480. So.
But I think John told me they were replacing the fuel pump, I mean, the water pump, but you gotta take the water pump off, put the timing chain in, so why would we be paying, I mean, that's what I'm saying.
If
It's no,
it's overhead, there's an overhead cam, it's got time and change on both sides.
right,
It's not behind the water pump.
okay.
But see, the tensioners and all that stuff on them, like a dealership, they're like, well, 100,000 miles, you need to change them. It's like a transmission, oh, it's got 50,000 miles, you need to flush it. Oh, hell no, you don't. I've got 500,000, ain't never been touched.
That's,
You know.
touched that 250,000 on it,
No, they ain't done, down by that.
besides, I did do the slugs.
But I think John John has already told them to fix it, so, I mean, that's where we're at now. Because like I said, right now, and Sam's doing a lot of work around the jail. I think they were doing some cleaning up where Fred had started, and they were gonna finish it today. And then he was using the van this morning, they went down to Hollis and did some stuff. But as in pulling the trailer to pick up trash, and we don't have anything really, for him to use right now.
How long they say it's gonna be before it gets done?
He didn't tell me. And I know John's been talking to him, and with John being out of town, I couldn't tell you that.
Can you not put seat covers over that other and
Well,
use it for the time being?
The
Until
issue
this
is
one's
if he's in it and then we need it, then we're up the creek.
But you're only using it for
We use it pretty regular.
searching.
We do, and like I said, if any of these, like the investigators, if they have to go out and go somewhere off-road, that is the only four-wheel drive that is road-worthy that we have. So we're constantly, everybody's jumping in and going places, like we got evidence, like if recovered stolen property, they use it to go get it, I mean, it was used today, actually. So
I'm
this.
just trying to figure out a way of keeping him busy, but then,
I understand, and we've got enough that we're doing that, and I think Fred's, we're keeping him busy. We're not just letting him stay idle, because there's enough around the jail that needs to be done, so.
because the people are liking the fact that he's out there, that, I mean, they're really, I get a lot of comments, about how they.
He's doing a great job, and that's one thing that I'm just super proud of him and what he's doing.
What about the program that you found where you can get some of those vehicles from the ADECA?
Well,
Sheriff truck?
the 4 vehicles that we got donated was through a state agency. Now, ADECA, we could look at purchasing a used vehicle in that site that Lee knows about. They've got vehicles on there that are used, and they're fairly cheap. I mean, they're a good deal for the miles and stuff. I mean, that's an option. Because I think another issue is the trailer that he's pulling. I think that's a lot of trailer for that size truck too. And I don't know if that had any.
I want to say something about that. I tried to get Dennis to buy F-250 and he refused, so that's on him.
Well, actually, falls back on us.
No, it don't. I told him, I said, let's get an F-250, Dennis, and he said, no, I need it tomorrow, and they got an F-150 in Montgomery, I'm gonna send somebody else. And that's what they done, and then paid to have a trailer hitch put under it, which F-250 already had a trailer hitch, but anyway.
Any more word on the cars that was already bought?
Every time I've called and they're telling me that they feel like it's going to be a lot closer, but we're at the mercy of Ford. I mean, that's what it boils down to, is we're at the mercy of these dealerships and I mean, it's a flip of a coin. I mean, that's basically what I get every time I call. And I called Calhoun County and talked to Cherokee County. They're having the same problem. So it's a statewide thing.
Well, these used vehicles that are you talking about, they just mostly pickup trucks that are on there, there's no police cars.
This is state surplus, so yeah,
Okay.
it's just pickup trucks that the state DOT uses.
Sort of like the environmental guy buys off of. I think we'll come out better to buy off that, and at least we'll get one that makes it over 100,000. We have a hard time, every vehicle I got's got over 200,000.
I mean, my personal vehicle got 372,000 miles.
But, and I guess the thing is, it seems like that ours gets to 100,000, either we need to come up with a program to get the oil changed in them or service, I don't know.
We're staying, my guys stay on top of oil changes and they're doing a really good job. But like right now, I've got an 18 Tahoe that, of course, it's warranty work. It's nothing. We've got an 18 Tahoe down at the transmission shop getting its third transmission put in. Of course, they've all been, except for the initial purchase, the last two has been covered under warranty. But I mean, it's just what we're running into. Well, I got a report here in a minute once Ryan, I mean, we're putting anywhere, we're putting about, not counting the investigators and me and John, about 20,000 miles a month on vehicles.
If you would, request those parts that they're taking off. Tell me you want them, I'd like to see it.
Do you wanna go ahead and, y'all wanna hear his report now? Y'all okay with that?
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm good.
Huh? We're gonna have to do it
That's
anyway.
what Terry looked at me, I said, I'm good with this.
Go ahead.
Well, I've got a couple of things that John and I have worked on, and I'll be honest with y'all, John has been focusing a lot on this jail thing and some other things that's been going on in-house. I'll give you all this, and then I'll talk to y'all about, give you all an update that John usually gives y'all. And him and Paul are at the Sheriff's Conference this week. And then I will be leaving Saturday for Israel for about 2 weeks, so he's gonna have to handle the rest of this stuff. But I'll start out with the June report. Like I said, he usually gives y'all right now, the current population is 61 inmates. We've had 91 inmates to either bond, innocence, or court order release in June. The inmate work detail man hours is 754 hours. And how that comes to is I make Sam keep up with the number of inmates he has and the hours they work daily. And I type that, so that's where the man hours come in. They collected 395 bags of trash, 66 tires, and 24 pieces of furniture. And I think they've been helping, I don't know if he's talked with Lee, but I know they've been weed eating around some of the guardrails and the intersections and some of those cemeteries that doesn't get a lot of attention. So on the patrol and investigation side, we've served 19 felony warrants, 21 misdemeanor violation warrants. We've served 61 civil papers, on view arrest for various things, 19 felony on view arrest, 26 misdemeanor violations. 123 instant offense reports. Our compliance check for sex offender was one this month or last month. Excuse
Is
me.
that supposed to be on this paper?
No. This is generally, like I said, what John reads off to y'all. The log patrol mileage, and what that is from our actual patrol deputies. This does not include admin and investigations, but log patrol mileage is 18,272. And we've had 1,762 business checks. So we had a busy June, but that's running about what we generally do each month. And I think she's got 2. So what I handed out to y'all is something that John and I have been working on for some time now, and we've looked at, and I just ask y'all to keep in mind that when Condrey done the study, that it wasn't mine and John's administration that was handling the study. So what we're looking at is, with Condrey's study, it allows us to promote a shift supervisor, which is called, or a shift sergeant, essentially. it's got a line item there, a grade, I think of 19 on the Condry study. And at that, it's pretty significant pay raise for a shift sergeant. So what John and I are wanting to do is, instead of having one particular person as a shift sergeant, we want to do away with the shift sergeant position that Condry had put in their report or in their study. And what we want to do is the ability to name 2 of our deputies, and we've done a test run with them now before we even come to this point. Because we want to name 2 of the deputies as a patrol sergeant or patrol supervisor, and they would handle A shift and B shift. And what this is going to do is this is going to cut down on one person having to worry about, supervising 7 other deputies. This would break down. We would have a shift, and a shift, kind of like how Lane runs the jail. We've got a shift supervisor on each shift of the jail. And there's actually 4 shift supervisors at the jail, and all we're asking for is 2. But essentially we would do away with the shift sergeant that Condry stated. We would be able to promote 2 deputies at $1 extra per hour. With that, this would be revocable. So if they get rode up, if something happens and they get demoted for some odd reason, this would be revocable. They would sign an understanding that if something happened, they would lose this $1 an hour. It would be better for us doing it that way than we would be actually naming 1 patrol sergeant, because it would be tough to take away, once we name 1 patrol sergeant, to take away that pay. So, like I said, this and then the duties, I'm not going to go through per line item. That would be the duties that these 2 individuals would cover. And with that, some of the things the 2 things that stand out to me the most is the firearms and the other evidence. The firearms, which I know Emmett has came and seen the firearms in the evidence room, that is a booger within itself. That is a monster. That is 2 things that is the biggest headache of our life. So with this proposal, those 2 people, one of them would handle the firearms, one of them would handle the other evidence, and all the duties within those 2 things. So, and we're asking for this to begin October 1st of this year at the new budget year. So breaking down on that second page, what John and I have looked at and studied is, if we had a patrol sergeant based off of one of the deputies that we're wanting to promote to this, to give them that supervisor role, with the equity and all that, it would cost $42,000 a year to have a patrol sergeant, to have 1 patrol sergeant. And the current deputy pay rate is $36,804, and that breaks it even down further than what Condry done. This breaks it down including the overtime, because I didn't want to blindside y'all with anything of what the cost would be. So if y'all done away with that patrol sergeant, that 1 position, and gave us the ability to give 2 people the $1 an hour extra to handle the shift supervisor duties, which would be a huge help for all of us, it would end up costing us, they would essentially get a $2,235 increase in their annual pay. So with that, doing away with that position and giving them the raises would essentially, plus or minus, of course y'all know how overtime is, y'all know how everything is, just by the base pay would save us $1,275. And like I said, that gives us the ability, we could take this away from them, we could take this position away
So we
from
would
them.
also, Lisa, we wouldn't have to pay for the benefits and insurance on that
Extra person.
extra
But is
person.
that person, is that someone that's already on the fourth chart?
Yes, this is,
The patrol sergeant position's already in the organizational chart and being budgeted for.
no, well, we could name a patrol sergeant. That's what Condry,
There's not one.
no, there's not, but
And it's not on the fourth chart, right?
we have never asked for one. That's what
So
I'm
it's
saying.
still an increase, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's
I'm
still,
Well, wait a minute,
that's what I was wondering.
he's gonna take 2 deputies he already has. So a regular deputy is, the 2 deputies, he's gonna give the increase, he's gonna do away with 1 deputy,
No, we're
No,
still,
not.
we don't have, okay, let me, I know I've probably confused you. We've got 8 deputies in our organizational chart right now. 8 deputies, but we do not have, for example, the jail has named their four supervisors as senior deputies, and their pay are senior corrections officers, which puts them in a higher pay rate. When Dennis, and like I said, I'm not bad-mouthing anybody, it's that under the former administration, he did not look at he did not move anybody to senior deputies, which we could have, that because that's part of that study. And he did not name a patrol sergeant, which there again, he could have from our understanding because it was part of that plan. He did not name either one of those two. So we're at a point we're dealing with so much problems now with we've got a lot of younger people working. So each shift deals with a lot of phone calls. So we're not adding another person for that patrol sergeant position. We're not changing our organizational chart. We're not adding anybody. What we're wanting to do is just change that job matrix instead of, because essentially what we were going to do at budget time is look at getting us some patrol supervisors. And so what we're going to do is essentially do away with that in our matrix, be able to give this incentive, this $1 an hour incentive to handle these things, and then be done with it. And then if one of them gets demoted, or if they both get demoted, then
You'd still have to make.
For right now, you don't
Yes,
even
correct.
have that, you don't even have that position filled, that 42.
correct, no, we're not.
So it's not coming out of the budget. So you're wanting to come over here and change 2 of your officers, which will increase their pay. The total amount of their increase is,
Be $5,747.
okay, each.
No, for one, it's only 20,
22.97.
yeah, 22, 35.97 each.
You're not getting rid of anybody, you're just changing job
You're just
titles.
changing-
All I'm doing is based off of the country,
If you changing job titles, you want to give 2 people $1 higher raise.
well, to handle a lot more duties. Because the problem that I'm running into right now is a morale issue. Is I've got 2 deputies that's handling this evidence stuff, and they're putting in a lot more hours and a lot more headache and a lot more work that's getting the same pay as a night shift deputy that's not having any extra duties. And that's where, it's killing our morale.
We're having to deal with the same thing as the road department does, and the same thing with departments at the courthouse, so it ain't as simple. I know it's simple from the way you look at it, but it ain't that simple for us.
Well, it's tough on us because we've got the shift supervisors in the jail, and then we've got deputies, and we've got 2 that's handling all these other duties with no extra pay.
Why don't we let our HR look at it and break it down and give us a recommendation?
That's fine.
I mean, I don't see where we can do nothing this month. Just,
Well, the reason we were presenting it this month is that way we could get the matrix changed way before the budget came. And like I said, we're not asking for much. These guys work their butts off. And I understand these guys do too. I understand all these departments do. But I've got 2 deputies that is doing a lot more than what the other deputies are. And I personally feel like that they need an incentive for these extra duties. That they're not getting anything out extra.
I see what you're talking about. I've had employees my whole life, but we got a limited bucket of stuff.
I understand completely, and that's,
We'll
but
have to deal with those raises we've already given.
But I mean, we'll definitely get HR to work us up a report and sit down and look at it.
that's fine. But that's all I have, thank you.
Thank you.
Ready for you, Lee?
And I mean, what I've got is the,
Steve,
Just a second, wait a second. Can I ask him one more
Sure,
question?
sure.
Okay, I didn't say I think Lisa might have sent this to me, the law on the feeding the inmates and stuff like that. And it says there is an emergency fund that the commission can apply for. The sheriff and the commission has to do it jointly.
I don't have a clue about that, I wouldn't be able to answer that.
When's John gonna be back? Can he be at the meeting?
Thursday.
Can he be at the meeting Monday night?
He should be here, yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, he'll be back Thursday.
Let's send a look at that.
I mean, it's a law, it's SB 228, she can send me about
Last
that.
page.
You send it to Lane? That's who I've sent it to.
Yeah, Lane and John. Like I said, I try to stay out of this jail ordeal. I've got enough headache dealing. I work from about 8 a.m. to midnight every day with no extra pay. So, this jail monkey is his problem. It's not mine.
This ain't here, maybe you can have a copy.
Okay. I'll leave it.
Okay, they don't need that one,
Maybe you want
It's like about second, third,
Yeah,
last page.
Okay, I'll give it to you.
Second bottom line for emergency. Okay.
Just make sure it's a SB 2228.
It is. Good. Thank y'all.
She can send it to her, because she sent it.
Well, she
I
just
just gave her, I gave her.
Okay.
Things are that bad, and then I'll stick it in software.
All right, Lee, please, Lee.
All right.
Start with Lee.
Award of the dumpsters and then the residential garbage. So starting with the dumpsters, we had three bidders on it. Low bid was Wise Environmental at $450 per container.
For what?
$450 per container. That's for the 30 yards at the convenience centers. $450 for the 20 yard, that's the litter dumpster. And then $14.40 a quarter. And that covers the 3 dumpsters at the county buildings.
I mean, that's what we got.
We got 3 at the county buildings.
Yeah, I mean, how many we got out of the business center?
We've got 10 and 16.
That's what you recommend, what you're recommending. All right, y'all want that on consent agenda or
That lines?
So that's Wise Environmental.
everybody good with that on consent
Yeah.
agenda?
And
You're
then,
trying to get through this too quick.
and then on the residential garbage side, we had 2 bids. Waste management was low bid at $74.70, and the other bid was Arrow Disposal at $76.35.
What was the, value?
$76.35 was Arrow's, that's the high bid. Waste management was $74.70, that's your low bid.
What's the increase on that?
It's dollars, total increase.
$47 what we're paying now, so
Yeah.
that's $28 for what we did. Or roughly 28. My brain don't work down to this. What do you recommend?
Waste management was low bid. But I will say, you've got a representative from Arrow back in the corner. If you do have any questions about Arrow's bid, you've got a guy here to answer those. But low
We
bid
just
is.
have so many problems.
He wants to ask our county attorney what he says.
Can we look at the other bid? Or
If,
tell us what we're doing before we get our hands slapped.
if we, let's say for instance, we decided to go with the higher bid, and because of service problems, are there any problems with that?
Have you had service problems that are so out of the ordinary that any sanitation company is not going to have the same problems? Missed can, trash on the street, those sorts of things, you're going to see that from any sanitation collection company. Have you had enough difficulty or enough problems where it rises to the level that you want to debar a company? And that's a major decision to make. If you debar the low bidder to go with the higher bidder, be prepared for the low bidder to sue.
Waste Management is the biggest company in the United States, right? I think they are.
It's just that we've had so many problems, it's every week.
All right, so, you've recommended waste management as right now, but that doesn't mean you as a commission can make a decision. So as of now, you want, to award the bid to, you can't say it that way. Put the bid,
On consent agenda,
Consent
or
agenda.
new business.
our new business, what do you want to do?
Consent agenda for me.
Business.
You said new business? I want to take one,
Okay, before we put in a resolution for waste management, or we leaving it blank?
okay. That's up to y'all. You want to leave it blank, or go ahead and put something on it. It doesn't mean you couldn't change it before.
Put waste management on. They were low bid.
New business is good? Everybody good with that?
I'm gonna let you know that documentation is what he's got on the product issues. Is that considered just the basically all garbage company, in your opinion?
It's not gonna be enough to
So-
separate.
Unless they're getting a lawsuit.
So right now it will read
Yes, ma'am.
waste management. All right. Moving on. Is that all we got?
That's all I have to say.
You have anything, Susan?
No, sir.
Thank you all.
We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you for bidding.
You're welcome.
This was roughly the garbage.
I guess I do have one more thing, projects all in the room. I'm going on vacation next week, so.
Okay.
Man, we just got
So we're sending all the garbage, you should send
Business
this on
last week.
vacation.
But yes, I'll be going next week.
This called Brad.
Just call for that.
I went out to Hopewell with, met this company out here, American Auctioneers, they're out of Center. They came out and looked, he sent this today. Then Terry, you had something from company
Yeah. Here. He will also come out if he wants to.
and it's up to y'all.
The proposal was pretty much self-explanatory.
Some of the stuff Fred had asked me about in that building, and I told him, you know, that we want to put a couple of those desks at our county library or wherever at the chamber. I told him I didn't know what to do with all the stuff in there.
Well, if you want to take something out, you go ahead and take it out now.
That's what I'm saying, that's what.
But there are some things in there that they could sell that would actually, they could sell outside there for us that would generate some more funding. There's an old wood stove up there. You could take the doors upstairs off the hinges and sell those doors.
Oh, yeah.
Those are beautiful doors up there.
Pierce said they would send somebody with a lifetime of antiques experience and walk through with anybody and make a recommendation, you know, this thing's worth something, that is going garbage, you know, this.
We're not in a rush. If you want me to get Pierce to come out, or
He said he would come out if you wanted. I mean, I've dealt with him, so I don't, maybe some of the rest of them will talk to him.
well, and I've dealt with this company, and they're very reputable, but they're closer. That's the only thing. But now I want y'all have to make the decision on who you want to go with. But I haven't found anybody yet.
I think the American Auctioneers, this is basically just a standard advertisement brochure, but in order to compare the two apples to apples, it would be good if the American fellow could give us an actual proposal of exactly what his fees are going to be for everything. Because you got that from Pierce.
Yeah.
And looking at this proposal, it says that their marketing plan is 1 to 3% of the estimated property value. Well, Pierce is not going to charge anything for marketing.
The only thing they charge for is to sell individual items.
Correct.
Or if the real estate and all that, there's no cost to it.
Correct. And that, so we need to be able, or the commission needs to be able to look at apples to apples comparisons.
And Pierce has 65 partners in 35 states, so this thing will go out all over the United States. And it's all online bidding, so anyway, whatever you want to do.
I'll ask American Auction to see if they can send me something more. They did come out and look at the building. I met with them on last Friday. They came out and looked at the building.
You can call him, or I can call him. And he said he would be glad to come out.
Yeah, and I'll be happy to meet them and get the key and show them, or we can all go out there, whatever. And we're in no hurry. If there's another company,
I'm not coming. I'm not gonna be here. Sunday will be my last day, and I'm ready for a while.
This company's the one that sold the old Alabama Power Building and sold the the old trailer park up there on I-20, and believe me, they got the way in on it to work. But I got out a long time before that place, both of them sold.
All right, so we're not in a rush on this, right? And I left a message with Tony Waddell. I sent them a copy of the memorandum of understanding, but I hadn't heard back. I hadn't got any mail back, so.
We need to wrap that up before we actually sell it.
I'm concerned about, you feel good, we're good to sell it and give it. What kind of deed, that was a question, what kind of deed would we actually be giving?
I would give a statutory warranty deed, that is, as long as it's been in our hands, we've not allowed any liens or encumbrances on
That's
But I'm no lawyer. A quick claim deed, what is that compared to what you're
it.
talking
Quit
about?
claim deed transfers all interest, if any, that you have. I could give you a quit claim deed to the Empire State Building right now. And I'll give you all my right title and interest to the Empire State Building.
Even if you ain't got it.
Exactly right.
Okay.
That's how people sold the Brooklyn Bridge so many times back in the 30s and 40s.
I mean, I've never dealt with a quick claim deed, but I'd always heard that. I really just didn't know what it was.
Sometimes that's where there's a married couple where
I don't know.
they.
Quite often, we have two joint owners that are
Yeah.
giving their interest.
That's
to
what
that joint
they
owner.
gotta have interest.
But again, it has no warranty of title to it.
Right.
A
Just statutory.
A statutory warranty deed simply says that as long as we've held title to this property, we have not allowed any encumbrance to take place against it. And you're warranting that state of title to any purchaser. So you can't say that you're not warranting anything before you had it. That's how we transfer properties in the club.
That doesn't mean a long time ago it could still pop up,
Well, again,
but not like.
we've held it for over how long?
Well, that says 1975, so that's almost 4 years.
Yep. And the statutory adverse possession period in Alabama is 20. So we basically held it to the exclusion of all others for 40 years.
Yeah.
Nobody's paid property tax, so.
Sir?
Nobody's paid property tax, so.
That's right.
Okay. That was one of the questions that they had. And I'll work with you, we'll try to get that other couple.
I mean, I'll be cell phone number, we'll call you.
Okay.
Go call him, leave a message or text him.
All right, I guess I didn't have anything else. Anybody else? Yes, sir, Mr.
Okay, we need to give Mr. Owen the authority to start using some of the money we've set aside for the animal shelter. They're getting ready to start work, and, he has agreed, to devote his time and effort toward that building, so.
Okay, how do we go about doing that?
Well, no,
Mr. Attorney?
Well, you have to decide how you want to proceed with that. The last email I sent discussed, plans and what the commission's going to want to see before they actually start laying out money.
Now, I'm going to copy, I think I was you copy too, of what the 501c, how they're set up, what their plans are. And they just started a fundraiser last week.
Have we gotten a final agreement out of the city? Because I made comments on that last one, that there was some.
Yeah, and what I have done since then is pinpoint, which I'm leaving Sunday, so when I get back, and then we'll go out to conference, and then we'll get back from conference, we're going out, because we've got a physical address, so there's no buying property and all that stuff. So basically what we're setting up to do is go out and clear the property when I get back in town. We got the physical address for it, and we'll put up our ribbons, and then we'll do our plumbing, do the groundwork first, and then we'll order a package for the building. And the way we talked about doing it with the city's help is order the building. I was gonna let them do it to keep us, because they got more leeway than us. So what I was suggesting was, is we say we got up to 200,000 to spend on, because I think they're setting aside 200,000 too. So once we get to the end of our 200,000, we've done, so one of the things done is the groundwork and probably the standing of the building will probably be where our money ends. And then, so whatever POs that I position for that, and there'll be 2 commissioners that's got to sign it anyway. And at each work session or each commission meeting, I will be saying, this is what I've done, this is what it is, and everybody can come out and watch us as we go.
The concern was the original agreement was basically you were turning over $200,000 to the city,
Yeah.
and whatever they didn't use, they were going to give back to you. And I haven't seen any change in that.
Right.
But you're really not turning it over to the city, you're actually gonna purchase the building,
As we go.
purchase as he's going.
But we need that agreement with the city. We haven't had anything that's changed there. And I have given a number of concerns in that last email whenever we do.
Well, then I just need to get with Patrick and have him to put those concerns.
I'll have him call me.
That's what I thought y'all was gonna be talking. But I'll do it again, because I thought I thought y'all see each other in court all the time.
It's not that.
Okay, well, I haven't called. But basically what it's gonna be is we'll spend and we'll see what our money's for as we go along. And then the city will pick up, most of what's gonna happen on the inside of the building will be performed by their monies. I mean, I'll still be involved in that too, but, I'm probably gonna want to donate a year of my life to this animal shelter.
Okay,
Totally appreciate it.
I got 2 questions. Okay, when the building gets built, who owns it? It's on city property.
Do you want to own it?
No,
Okay, will the city own it?
no, you're not a damn judge, you can't say that.
It's gotta be in
Who
the
legally
agreement.
owns it?
It's got one of the things that needs to be in the agreement.
Yeah.
Who is gonna hold title to the building?
Okay, then here's my next question. Would we be better off just to donate $200,000 towards the city building a plan? Would that be less liability on us?
At this point, if they're owning it, if they're managing it and getting into all the agreements with the 501c3, it's gonna be 6 of one, half dozen of the other. One of the concerns that I heard out of the commission is you wanted to be sure that you knew what your money was being spent on. So you can either do it where you have someone involved, seeing how it's being spent and can report back and have the PO signed off on, or you can just say, here's $200,000, go build your building.
I feel better by having one of our commissioners
I don't
involved.
worry about that either way it goes. I was
And us
just trying to say
signing off on
person.
it,
I mean, I just
just
wonder,
overseeing the project.
And
legally,
that has
what's
to
the
be-
best way to go?
that's what has to be spelled out in the agreement with the city.
So, we can't do anything until we get the agreement, that's pretty much what you're saying?
I wouldn't do anything until you had it signed with the city.
Okay.
And he has a copy of it, so.
Yeah, I've seen some, I sent you one of the,
Yeah. And that's what I commented on and sent the email back about.
And then Robbie has also got a copy of it, and I went over it with him, so. Just,
And you're welcome to forward my email to Patrick, so he can see the areas of concern that I brought up.
Do they have a business plan that we can look at?
The 501c,
Yeah.
they presented part of their business plan, yeah. They,
It's back on you again.
I mean,
That meeting tonight,
no, I'm gonna put it on
6
him.
o'clock.
if you go to the bank and you try to take out a loan on a business, first thing they ask you for is a business plan. I just wondered if they had one, I'd just like to read it, you know.
I mean, the fact that you're gonna be gone most of July anyway, having this agreement ready so that it can be on the August agenda.
Fundraiser.
I don't care about the fundraising, I don't care about the.
Well, that was one of the things they asked you at that was laid out, was part of the plan. That they needed, and that's what they did, they went through everything that Jason was saying.
City property.
And they did that.
I thought it was back in the city.
I don't care.
Right on the edge. The city goes up there and the road turns up 66 to the tar. Yeah, but it might be. So we can install this.
Anything you want to do? I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
I'm not interrupting.
I don't know, did y'all have something? Okay. Do you have something?
What did y'all ever do with JSU?
Yeah, we vote last week to go forward with that? She sent,
We allowed y'all to, did we get a contract or?
no, we're working on that contract, going back, and she sent an email this week. She sent one this morning.
Okay, I don't see that.
Our shared use agreement is still good, because it's actually laid out long-term, where it ties it to a lease period, and we've got the lease ready for them to sign, just to sign off on it. They've already agreed to it, so,
I just wanna make sure it don't fall through the cracks and
Right.
do this paperwork.
exactly.
They're gonna be, is it Friday, they're gonna send out all but 15 staff members, I think, or 28. 15 staff members to see what they can do to how to use this facility more. You got any points to make it happen?
I hate to say this, but does anybody even want to discuss the grocery tax? I mean, I personally don't, but it's something we need to decide, because the new law allows the counties to go one way or the other. We can either drop ours or not drop ours. I don't know if we need a resolution. If we need a resolution one way or the other, or just keep quiet and everything stays the same.
If you don't do anything, it stays the same.
We like keeping quiet.
And I'd like to thank Lisa, I'd like to thank Lisa with the work she done on this fireworks tax bill and got all this crap straightened out, because that took a long time. And the Fire Association appreciates it, so.
What did it do?
Always us.
They just had a bank account routing number wrong, and there was $10,000 and something dollars sitting in there that
Right.
Avenue didn't give crap to send to nobody, they just keep them.
They love to send us something,
They
they charge us money,
Yeah,
I knew.
but it took her a long time to go through all that crap and make a bunch of phone calls.
Did you send them any a bill for the interest that they earned on it? Well,
That's a good idea.
Yeah,
They wanted us to pay somebody else interest on their mistake,
Yeah, it was
Good job,
their
Lisa.
mistake, it wasn't ours or the company.
I'll give Krista a pat too. She definitely helped me out on it, dealing with some of this back and forth with Avenue and trying to get, they don't cooperate all that well or respond all that well.
Sometimes they got scared.
Yeah.
I know we talked about this before too, what about a meeting every month or bi-monthly or something with all county elected officials? Is anybody interested in that?
I'd say quarterly, because when they come here, they're gonna ask for money, they're not gonna come here and be in asking
But we get a deal like this contract
for
with
money. But
John.
not just meet them at the restaurant, that's less, meet them at a meeting.
I mean, he's off trying to negotiate a contract that he don't even have the power to negotiate. Instead of coming to us and we're having a special meeting to try to fix the screw up. I mean, if we had a meeting every quarter, whatever, and let everybody come and say whatever they want to say.
I think every quarter, I wouldn't do it every month.
but I mean, really, this meeting, that's what the
They-
work
they supposed to
session
come
and the
to-
meeting and the commission meeting, they should, if you're an official, if you got something on your mind,
How many other elected officials you deal with? Revenue, probate, sheriff, well,
corner,
Warren, okay. That's 4.
yeah.
So
Any other department,
basically,
unless you got the
Then you got the mayors.
extension.
but I mean, you could schedule, 2 of them, one work session, 2 of them the next work session, have the city officials on the 3rd work session, and then just have a place on your work session where they come in and discuss issues. And that way you're not dealing with the same people every quarter. You don't have all of them every quarter, but
I mean, but is that
you
something
can knock out some of them each time.
everybody wants to pursue? Because God sent them an email, or half of them ain't gonna show up, because they gonna stay out there. I mean, I'd like to do something like that,
We
as
just
long as
have,
everybody else does.
Lisa and them just have this, get a calendar and space it out. and-
I would like to, address a work session every quarter and say 2 of them come dead, I want to add another day.
Right, that was my suggestion, so you're not having another meeting, but you just have, January have the probate judge and the revenue commissioner scheduled for the work session. And then in February, you had
And
coroner,
Terry,
sheriff.
we're having this
March,
early
you
meeting,
had the
they wouldn't
city.
even have to work over that, we'd come in and address the elected officials at the front end at 3 o'clock. Right?
And in all our meetings, you know, we do have a public thing that kind of gives me the freedom to, if we got somebody from the extension or someone who represents.
Yeah,
Can you send that, send an email there or
Meetings,
Well,
Russ.
it's in there, all right.
Meeting.
Yeah.
If they can make it, I'm not making it anytime, you know.
I think we might have to instructed.
You're inviting them.
Yeah,
You're making a special place to invite them.
You never look at it like that, like someone.
But that's how you pitch it to them.
I know, I'm picking.
Because you invite a probate judge every month.
Want to arrest me tonight?
Yeah.
To be here or not.
did we put the industrial war contract on the agenda?
What now?
Did we put the industrial war contract on the agenda?
Somebody brought it
Or
up.
did we just talk about it?
Yeah,
It's on the agenda.
new business.
Okay, what kind of money we talking about? Are we even talking about any money? I mean, that's something we need to decide tonight, isn't it?
Do we need to wait to see where we're at with everybody's decisions on everything? Before we-
Maybe the $200,000 that we probably look for animal shelter could cover 4 years worth of industrial development work.
Well,
I'm teasing, I'm teasing.
everybody's got an opinion on this, but from me talking to Tammy several times over the last few months, there's hardly anything left out there for them to do. So why are we looking at spending $150,000 if there ain't really nothing for them to do? Because she's calling me and saying, is there any buildings in Ranford that I could do something in? I'm like, yeah, crap, in Ranford, nobody wants to do it. And so, I mean, I sort of got a feeling we might need that $50,000 when we start on the budget. Is it something we need to discuss?
What is that money to be used for?
Mostly for her salary, I think.
No, I'm talking about, I understand that part, but what is the money that's in question is designed for? I mean, the money ain't just coming from the general fund.
Yeah, it's coming from tobacco tax.
Right.
Yeah.
And the tobacco tax has a law or a established criteria for the money. One is economic development, one is health, and one is for playground equipment.
So health, could that be the jail health? I mean, I'm just throwing it out there. If everybody's good the way it is, then let's just vote on it, but, you know. I mean, the last one was 25 the first year, 50 the second year, 50 the third year. And the one before that, I think was 50 for all 3 years.
Well, I mean,
You don't take the phone calls.
if
Is
you,
anybody going, is the county getting out of any work out in Bramburn or anywhere else other than the city of Heflin?
She came out there with a meeting with 3 brands, is the only thing I know of in Ranford in the last couple of years. And that's just their purchasing equipment, they want tax abatement, which I sat down and talked to her, I was like, whoa, before we give all this away now. Because I don't think we should, I think we should give them some, but I don't think we should give them all of it.
you could, you know, as far as trails, you know, we thought about spending money toward trying to develop a trail that would go from here to the Pinhoti Trail.
Well, like I said, whatever y'all, I mean, y'all do what you want to do, but I'm just saying, just be sure to take your phone call when it comes time. Whatever you're doing out there in Bramford, we'll take the phone calls and that way it gets us off the hook.
I mean, I'm good with it, if that's what everybody wants to do, everybody.
I just think you gotta have some economic development. I mean, I know there's a lot, they're working on a good bit at She Hall right now, where they're taking calls and stuff. You was down on that meeting too, so, I think, you know, I think sometimes you just gotta get involved and be involved with it to sort of work in your district. And if you got avenues of something comes up, I just want to have somebody that can handle that stuff. I mean, like, the money that we put into it, I think that we made our money back and then some. I think that Love's truck stop out there, I think we're way over our budget, what we was gonna get back on that. I just think you went, Terry, and I think, Laura, was you in office then, when we went to Auburn? You got in county government, these roads are fine when you start asking the citizens of Cleburne County to pay for it. They're fine. But what I'm saying is, what we've been told in most of our meetings, we've got to continue to make the pie bigger. And if we don't have nobody that's gonna take the phone calls, whether it's something, maybe something might pop down at Hollis Crossroads or wherever the phone call is, right now, we've got somebody that will take that call. But I don't think we can get what we get for what we're paying and continue to, I mean, just like in the city, which around a municipality like this right here in the past, what we've had 5 ribbon cuttings in the past 4 months. And we're gonna get a penny on everyone, I mean, you know, taxes on all that money. And that will help fund the jail, that will help fund everything else. But if we wanna stick our head in the sand and just say, okay, I think we've done all we wanna do, and then whatever happens, happens. Because right now, some of the stuff that Floyd Davis has asked of me, you know, they're over building that right of way now. And one thing I was gonna say is on our, and this here sort of relates to this, economic development, to where how somebody has a phone call of all these people that's moving into the county. You know, and that's one of the things I was hoping that the chamber would take, and the chamber and economic development would go back together like it was before. So that way when that person comes up there, on houses and property and everything, where we got to have, I mean, I think it's not just about businesses, I think it's about bringing more people into the county. And not only that, what Floyd was talking about was like when this self-governing act, you know, he's looking at running sewer lines to Ross Mountain now. And, you know, and I give Tammy his number the other day, so she's working with him. And, you know, I know, I mean, if I can get, I think it's gonna be more, $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 houses that goes on top of him, but he's, breaking out. I've got $300,000 worth of drawings that the man has invested in. Of 132 acres right there, as you go right off of Highway 20, Interstate 20 right there by New Harmony Church, 132 acres right there that he's breaking up in 4-acre tracts.
Okay, so what's the dollar amount that we're gonna vote on, I guess?
I would just renew the contract.
25, 50, 50?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I would do.
Jason, also.
That is on the agenda, right?
He brought this up, and that's what I was about to bring up to you, the assembly of government, and you sent us all that out, and which is lengthy. It is, you can go to sleep on that one. Where are we ready to move forward?
Did y'all have any comments on the document?
I trust your judgment on that, because I've read through it and I get lost. Totally lost on it.
I've read it.
I got more lost on it than I have this.
I think too, one of the things of it is I think that stuff like junkyards, and this is,
Beautification Act.
I just talking, yeah, and I think she's doing a great job. She's got the book from Ryan. I think she's going through that about increasing some of these fees from 0. She's doing it, but that's what Floyd, so I guess someone has put a bug in his ear about this. So what all can people do in the county? I said, right now, Floyd, they can do whatever, but I said, the good thing about your property, ain't nobody inside that river where he's at, so I said, they can't come over there and do, you know.
Yeah.
But that's what his concern was, well, if somebody was going to put in a junkyard or start spreading because he was just asking me, and I said, well, I know the attorney's working on it, but, you know.
Well, what I presented is dealing with sewerage and septic.
Right.
We're not addressing any of the other topics at this time. We're trying to, if we're gonna take bites out of it and create ordinances, we need to do it orderly and each at a time. This first one, once the commission is satisfied with the document and ready to put it up, I would suggest that you schedule a public hearing, advertise it so that the public knows what you're getting ready to do, and people can come and comment on the plan and the ordinance.
Because that one basically doesn't take us, we were having a lot of issues on these little, these little buildings that's being put out, and Because right now, even the health department they can't just go out and look at that piece of property unless somebody has actually complained, they filed a complaint, they're not allowed to go on that property.
This also has enforcement tools in it. That if someone has not hooked up to either an available sewer system or put in a proper septic system, that you can go in, you can fine, you can start punishing them for failing to comply. That's why it's recommended that you have a public hearing and let the public come in and discuss it.
It allows us to go on their property too, does it not?
Yeah.
That's right. I just want to make sure.
Who's gonna enforce it?
It'd have to go through, for right now, go through our environmentalists, because that's what it really involves.
If there's been, first line is basically the environmental office. The second line, if the environmental officer sees someone that's in violation, they can go file a complaint and the sheriff will go. That's how you get criminal sanctions. But again, that's part of the process, it's part of what needs to be discussed at this hearing before you all make a decision to formally implement the rule.
But this is just our first step under that act. But if we don't start, we're still sitting back here 20 years later, twiddling our thumbs on a law that we passed and we've never moved forward.
One thing we're talking about is what, I like what Jeannie's working on. I think this is where this is coming from, this more work.
The beautification act.
Well, not only that, if you look at all the houses that's being built in the county right now, and then you take and look at potential, what could be, what I was just talking about. In most counties, it's, it could be $3 to $4 on the 1,000, a minimum of $30 permit. Okay. And a lot of people say, oh, well, the thing about it is, I'll tell you something, if I was building a house out in the county, and I was just a common Joe that didn't know how to nail 2 to 4 down, or know about plumbing, I would go hire me somebody to come in and inspect my house that's being built.
We need those regulations it protects you as a homeowner.
It's the best money you'll ever spend on your house is to have that house inspected and at least somebody walk through and make sure you're wiring. Like up in Cleburne, there's a lot of houses that are just a death trap.
Well, my house personally, when I built my house, there was no rules, no regulation. So the guy that put my heat and air in, my son got carbon monoxide poisoning because he didn't ventilate the system.
Because every contractor that works here, if you go down there and get a price on putting a 5-ton HVAC in a house in Calhoun County and get one in Cleburne County, you know the difference in the price? No. Most of the time they charge us more because it's in Cleburne County. But usually what's got to happen is it's going to be inspected. And when they pull a permit on that house for HVAC, that's $30. And then on that plumbing, it's $30. I mean, it ain't gonna be a lot of fees, but what I'm trying to explain to you on say 50 houses being built in the county, when you start looking at that, then you can get you a compliance officer that will go and start.
A building inspector.
There you go. That's where I was trying to go with the conversation.
But what Jason's got set up for us is just our first step.
How hard would it be to do that step? To the compliance officer like I'm talking about?
A building inspector.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is you got to, and that's the reason I was asking what Jeannie's working on, where we pay $5, and that's one thing, there won't be no property, no junkyard beside any of that property, but he's just wondering what services and what guidelines he's got to follow out in the county. He builds a lot of houses, but me and him has had long conversations about it.
The thing that we need to process now, though, is that Jason has it written up. Do we go ahead and start and put it on the agenda to move forward with it?
I'd say yeah.
Are you ready to advertise for a public hearing in a week?
No.
That's what I'm asking, this commission.
So you've got it ready, so we can.
If you all are good with what I sent, that's.
Okay, let me read back over it again.
Okay.
And then when I get back in the country, we'll see. But how close would I be coming up with a permit, compliance, to pull permits and stuff like that throughout the county.
I have to look at
I know it's not gonna be easy,
it. Because you don't have any zoning authority out in the county.
but this is the first step though, right?
And zoning is not one of the things that's allowed under the limited subdivision.
Yeah, it's only, what, 6 things that's allowed. Montgomery don't want us making no laws without
Correct.
going down there and talking
I
to
was gonna
them.
say,
To have every county in the state besides us has got a compliance officer, we gotta get with, we gotta,
a building inspector,
Yeah.
it's a difference in.
Yeah.
what I'm talking about a building inspector.
Yeah, but not through this self-governing act.
Oh, so we wanna have to, how long do we have to have this then? So take that off my list. Get me more
The government is to
Inspector.
protect, the self-limited government is to protect us from the raw sewage that's running all over the county.
That's
And
one of the,
other-
that's one of the areas that you can use it for, yes.
Well, we're having these little homes being brought in, they're setting them up, and they're able to get power, but they never have septic. And we're not, right now, we have nobody to go out there and check to see if they're septic on it.
Just my 2 cents, the building inspector, it needs to go, I probably do, and I ain't gonna say every week, but every week I do 5 or 6 new addresses. And it's all Douglas County, Paulding County, it's coming and it's coming quick.
And let me tell you about all those people. Go over there and pull a permit, step across, I built houses over there.
Well,
Yes, it is.
there's no doubt that we need it,
It's
but
like,
we've
wow.
got to start, we passed self-limited government, the people voted on it. And we've not done anything to put it in force. And the people voted for it.
Well, let's do it.
Okay.
So we got to start small to get to where we're at, where we need to go.
We'll have a public meeting. Set it up.
Just kind of got one other question. So I need to go to my legislators to find out about compliance stuff, am I correct?
In order to have that type of permitting and zoning, yeah,
Okay.
But not compliant, it'll be a building inspector.
correct.
Yeah,
Permit zoning and building
Building
inspector.
Okay.
Did the
That's gonna
county,
take a long
Ryan,
time.
didn't the county have a building inspector years ago?
No,
No, they,
All
the
right.
only thing they had was what was that old Southern building law? They had adopted that was what they was.
Yeah.
See, the law that they do have, the subdivision law, the subdivision law, it's,
Well, let me tell you what's gonna ring the bell before long. And the reason all this is coming up too is a house that's not inspected, it's not good for your insurance. And I think it's fixing to be a problem.
Is that gonna be like a bank
Yeah.
mortgage?
Yeah, an insurance company, they say, well, where's your permits and where's your inspection on your house? I've been in houses, I used to do that,
and you hear it more like at the farmer's state, at the state farm meeting, not state farm, alpha meeting,
Mm-hmm.
you hear a lot about,
just,
that
when-
they're
I think
getting-
sometimes when
they're
people see a
actually
lot of houses
asking for
around, they're gonna
more.
build 30 or 40 houses, and they sort of wanna know where, it can, some of the property can just be annexed, my suggestion was annexed into the city of Heflin if you're that worried about it. But, I don't know if that's a benefit to the county or whatever.
Don't we have the subdivision regulations in place? They have to comply with that if they're building a subdivision.
But that don't have anything to do with the house.
Correct.
That's just roads and curves.
Right.
curb appeal.
But listen, it ain't about, what it's about is that being inspected house is all. That's what it's about. We all know it's right, but just to have a guy that goes in like you're looking at, and they got a little panel out there in front of your house and they say, we did the roof on the plumbing, we did the roof on the electrical, we did the roof on the HVAC.
That may be something that the economy takes care of itself. If the person gets the house done, they're not able to get insurance. Relying on
More
inspection.
insurance, yeah.
If the insurance company says, we're not gonna insure this house unless you provide us with an adequate inspection. then go out and get a home inspector to do that.
Oh, yeah, I mean, yeah, but you gotta do it on, the front end, and it probably would on the front end of it, but I'm just saying, if I keep talking about all the 911 addresses we're hanging out and everything, and, you know, it's like I tell everybody, I've had a lot of people call me before to come and do a walkthrough or look at their house, and I walk in, they got the sheetrock up. And I'm like, looks good. It might burn down tomorrow. But I'm just saying, it's not only good for the county, but it's good for good solid houses to be built where they've been they've been inspected. That's all it is. And you figure a $250,000 house, you might look at $300,000 in $300 in permits. But at the end of the day, somebody, like, there's a person building a house on 10 acres of land just right down from me. And, and I'm trying to explain to them that you need to get this guy, and this guy. It's just a young couple just starting out. They just want a house.
We have to get local legislation for that.
Okay, well, I'm gonna try to work on that then, Damn, I didn't think I'd have to do that.
The supplement government is totally different.
We can't create laws. The commission can't create laws. Am I right?
Yeah, I believe you.
But I was just,
And the Limited Self-Governance Act is a law that allows you to enact ordinances in specific limited circumstances. And that's not law.
Okay. And what was that thing you said we used to do, right? That we did?
They just said, what was the Southern Building Code, or?
Yeah.
Change
They
the ballot
adopted
year.
that they adopted that, it was kind of a blanket thing that they asked that all houses be built according to the Southern.
Not
Building
inspected,
code, yeah.
just, okay. Okay.
But you be doing what, you say that all day long, but
Yeah.
well, I got a phone call a couple of weeks ago, and I'll tell you, I had a phone call with him, and I'll tell him if I told you how right or not. He called me and he said, I moved over here to Georgia, I'm gonna build a house. What kind of ordinances y'all have? I said, you gotta have sewer and stay the hell out of the road.
and what?
Stay the hell out of the road. We get people like they're putting down letterboxes in the dirt road.
We talk to it all the time.
But I mean, I didn't say it like that.
Yeah.
Oh,
But I mean, am I right? I mean, that's all you gotta have, you gotta have sewer, that's it.
And we all make the that because the health department on that.
Yeah, that's what I told him, I said, that ain't got anything to do with us.
well, I don't know if it's something we can enact, so, and that's, I mean, if it's gotta go to the legislature, it's just, most times our legislature just gives us
Don't
a
do
copy
dirt
from
when you do
the county our
dirt.
size that has all that legislation in.
Make sure
They
they
adopt
look.
it, and then we can
I don't
send
think
it
this guy
down,
knows
put it out, everybody vote on it.
No,
And
I didn't know
think
this, he
it's
retired in
okay.
Georgia, he moved over here because it don't cost him money.
My biggest concern is if a person really puts that building in there that they have sewer, and somewhere or another, somebody is checking that. And right now, it's not being done. And so, I know several out in my area where all sewage is running on the ground. And we need to eliminate those problems. And if somebody's moving in a trailer park, they gotta make sure that they have enough septic tanks for that square footage. Was it 1,000 for 3 bedrooms or 4 bedrooms? 4 bedrooms. And we don't have anyone that's checking that. We're gonna start somewhere.
Well, I'll talk with Randy and with Chad and see what their idea is.
Well, who schedules the public meeting? Who does them?
Once you're on side, you're ready to go with it.
Be sure to read
I'm
over.
ready. I've been ready. It's just you 3 guys have got to decide if you want to go ahead and put it out there or not.
Because the suggestion is gonna be that ordinance be available for people to review prior to the public hearing. Because you're gonna want people to see what it is you're planning on enacting.
So what do y'all want to enact today? Because you could be 3 different public hearings, right? Is that right?
Could be.
Should be, right? Not just one big public hearing that would cover all facets. You
Right.
want to specifically know what you want to do.
Let's suggest something. It's not gonna happen for my building inspector. So, let me say this, you might wanna wait until after you get your budget done and work on that through October, November, December.
Well, that's fine, I just don't want us, Jason did that 4 months ago. And would not move forward with it. We passed it in the last session. So we owe it to our people to move forward with something.
And if y'all look at it again, you have comments or questions, let me know, and we can work it out.
I'll drink a lot of coffee. And that's kind of what we do.
Can you print it out for us, Lisa? I'm tired of wasting my ink and my paper.
Which part you want printed out?
What he's written up?
The whole ordinance.
No, it's not. His is, it's not that one. His is about,
It's on.
Well, just email it to us, then you can print it out.
He's
about 30
already
pages long.
emailed it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, just,
But, I mean, I'd like to,
oh, you have to change it.
well, I mean, I'd like a copy of it. If it's something I don't like, I can highlight it, then we can come back instead of me trying to remember on page 13, there was blah, blah, blah. And I'm tired of using my ink, it's costing me $100 every time.
This is easy compared. But yeah. I might be, that for you too.
We
I
do.
think our session.
Y'all ready to go home?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Hey, have we got anything on our calendar for this month? Because I'm sorry, I have not looked at our calendar. We got any people don't rolling off boards or contracts or anything?
Off the top of my head, I have to look at it.
The only board I've got.
Hope you have a,
We'll have a damn good time.
you won't be here for me.
I'll be back until, I'll see y'all at the beach tonight.